Hello everyone and welcome to the lecture on Amazon DocumentDB with MongoDB compatibility. So this lecture will contain all these topics. What is Amazon DocumentDB? High level features, clusters, instances, how it works, 3 types of endpoints and replica set mode. So what is Amazon DocumentDB? Amazon DocumentDB with MongoDB compatibility is a fast, reliable and fully managed database service. Amazon DocumentDB makes it easy to set up, operate and scale MongoDB compatible databases in the cloud. With Amazon DocumentDB, you can run the same application code and use the same drivers and tools that you use with MongoDB. High-level features. Amazon DocumentDB supports 2 types of clusters, instance-based clusters and elastic clusters. Elastic clusters support workloads with millions of reads and writes per second and petabytes of storage capacity. Amazon DocumentDB automatically grows the size of your storage volume as your database storage needs grow. Your storage volume grows in increments of 10 GB up to a maximum of 128 terabytes. You don't need to provision any access storage for your cluster to handle future growth. With Amazon DocumentDB, you can increase read throughput to support high volume application requests by creating up to 15 replica instances. Amazon DocumentDB replicas share the same underlying storage, lowering cost and avoiding the need to perform writes at the replica nodes. This capability frees up more processing power to serve read requests and reduces the replica lag time, often due to a single-digit milliseconds. You can add replicas in minutes regardless of the storage volume size. Amazon DocumentDB also provides a reader endpoint, so the application can connect without having to track replicas as they are added and removed. Amazon DocumentDB lets you scale the compute and memory resources for each of your instances up or down. Compute scaling operations typically complete in few minutes. Amazon DocumentDB runs in Amazon Virtual Private Cloud (VPC), so you can isolate your database in your own virtual network. You can also configure firewall settings to control network access to your cluster. Amazon DocumentDB continuously monitors the health of your cluster. On an instance failure, Amazon DocumentDB automatically restarts the instance and the associated processes. Amazon DocumentDB does not require a cache recovery replay of database redo logs, which greatly reduces restart times. Amazon DocumentDB also isolates the database cache from the database process, enabling the cache to survive an instance restart. On instance failure, Amazon DocumentDB automatically failover to one of up to 15 Amazon DocumentDB replicas that you create in other availability zones. If no replicas have been provisioned and a failure occurs, Amazon DocumentDB tries to create a new Amazon DocumentDB instance automatically. The backup capability in Amazon DocumentDB enables point-in-time recovery for your cluster. This feature allows you to restore your cluster to any second during your retention period up to the last 5 minutes. You can configure your automatic backup retention period up to 35 days. Automated backups are stored in Amazon Simple Storage Service S3, which is designed for 99.99 durability. Amazon DocumentDB backups are automatic, incremental and continuous, and they have no impact on your cluster performance. With Amazon DocumentDB, you can encrypt your databases using keys that you create and control through AWS Key Management Service (KMS). On a database cluster running with Amazon DocumentDB encryption, data stored at rest in the underlying storage is encrypted. The automated backups, snapshots, and replicas in the same cluster are also encrypted. Amazon DocumentDB is authorized under Federal Risk and Authorization Management Program (FedRAMP). It has FedRAMP High authorization for AWS Gov Cloud US regions and FedRAMP Moderate authorization for AWS US East and West regions. Clusters. A cluster consists of 0 to 16 instances and a cluster storage volume that manages the data for those instances. All writes are done through primary instance. All instances, primary and replica, support reads. The cluster's data is stored in the cluster volume with copies in 3 different availability zones. Amazon DocumentDB 5.0 instance-based clusters supports 2 storage configurations for a database cluster Amazon DocumentDB Standard, and Amazon DocumentDB Input-Output I/O Optimized. Something about instances. An Amazon DocumentDB instance provides an isolated database environment in the cloud, which allows you to maintain secure and separate database workloads while enabling multiple user-created databases within each instance. Instance management is streamlined through two primary interfaces. The AWS Management Console provides a graphical interface for instance creation and modification, while the AWS CLI offers command line control for automation and scripting capabilities. The instance configuration is determined by its instance class, which specifies both the computation and memory capacity available to the database. This allows you to precisely match resources to your workload requirements. Amazon DocumentDB provides scaling flexibility by allowing you to change instance classes as your needs evolve, ensuring your database resources can grow or shrink with your application demands. The network environment for Amazon DocumentDB instances is exclusively within Amazon VPC, providing comprehensive network control including IP address range selection, subnet creation, routing configuration, and access control list ACLs for enhanced security. Before deploying any Amazon DocumentDB instances, a prerequisite cluster must be created to serve as the container for these instances, ensuring proper organization and management of your database resources. How it works? Amazon DocumentDB clusters consist of a cluster volume for storage and 0 to 16 database instances for processing. The cluster volume is a virtual storage system that replicates data 6 ways across 3 availability zones with a maximum capacity of 128 terabyte. Each cluster has exactly one primary instance that handles both read and write operations and manages all data modifications to the cluster volume. Clusters can have up to 15 replica instances that support only read operations, enabling distributed read workloads and increased availability across availability zones. Instances within a cluster can be of different classes and can be provisioned or terminated as needed, which allows independent scaling of compute capacity from storage. When writing data, the primary instance performs a durable write to the cluster volume and then replicates the write state, not the actual data, to all the active replicas. Replica instances provide eventually consistent reads with minimal lag, typically less than 100 milliseconds after the primary writes the data. Reads from replicas are guaranteed to maintain the same order as the writes were performed on the primary instance. Replica lag can vary based on the rate of data changes, with high write actively potentially increasing the lag time. The architecture separates storage from compute, with cluster volume spanning multiple availability zones for high durability and availability. 3 types of endpoints. Amazon DocumentDB provide 3 specialized types of endpoints: cluster endpoint, reader endpoint, and instance endpoints, each designed to serve specific purpose in managing database connections and operations. The cluster endpoint, of which there is exactly one per cluster, connects directly to the primary instance and supports both read and write operations, serving as the main access point for the database. Built-in failover support allows the cluster endpoint to automatically redirect connection to a new primary instance if the current one fails, ensuring continuous operations when at least one active read replica is available. The reader endpoint, one per cluster, intelligently distributes read-only connections across all available replicas in the cluster, effectively balancing the read workload. Connection modes significantly impact endpoint behavior. Replica set mode, replica set equal to RS0, allows the reader endpoint to function like a cluster endpoint with write capabilities, while direct connection mode, there is one more mode, direct connection mode, restricts operations to read-only access. Instance endpoints offer direct access to specific database instances with one endpoint per active instance in the cluster, providing granular control over database connections. analytics workloads benefit particularly from the instance endpoints, which allows direct connections to specially provisioned larger replica instances while keeping analytics traffic isolated from regular cluster operations. So there's one special mode, replica set mode, which I just talked about. Amazon DocumentDB allows connection to cluster endpoints in replica set mode by specifying the replica set name, which is RS0, which is the recommended connection method for general use. When using replica set mode, users can configure advanced settings including read concern, write concern, and read preference options to control data consistency and read-write behavior. From the perspective of drivers and clients, an Amazon DocumentDB cluster in replica set mode appears and functions as a standard MongoDB replica set, providing familiar functionality. Each Amazon DocumentDB cluster is structured as a single replica set with a fixed name RS0, which is set as the default and cannot be modified. The replica set configuration dynamically manages cluster membership, automatically reflecting any instances that are added to or removed from Amazon DocumentDB cluster, ensuring seamless scaling and maintenance. And that's all. Thanks for watching.